What's up, good people? Welcome to another episode of Mental Insider, and today we are joined by a very beautiful soul, a very beautiful young lady, and she'll be telling us a story. Good to see you.
Good to see
And
you too.
thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so you can just tell us your name and who you are, because we basically need to know who you are. Just tell our audience who are you.
Okay, Noel Nasaba Lusoti. I'm a second year taking Bachelor of Economics at the University of Nairobi. Yeah, at the moment, that's fit for now.
Oh, that's fit. Thank you. And so, for the interest of everything, and because it's as you know, it's the mental health month, May, and we are getting out to know stories about people and where they have come from, what they have experienced, and how they are faring on. So if you can kindly share your story to us, and also for the listeners to know who you are, what happened, maybe how did you do everything, and how you overcame it. So just give us a glimpse of that story.
Oh well, mental health is actually a very wide scope, and I'll narrow down to my own personal experiences. I'll say I have dealt with depression, and I still deal with anxiety a lot. And for me, it was brought by my environment growing up as a kid. So it started from my childhood, and growing up it has been quite hard because at the moment, mental health awareness wasn't brought out to the public as it is right now.
Oh.
So people really didn't know what was happening to me, and they didn't even get it. So my family, I'll say, they didn't understand what was really happening with me, because for them it was like I was a dramatic kid. I was this kind of kid who just wanted attention, I guess. So it was hard growing up until I hit puberty and coming to the knowledge where I'm just not fitting with other people. I'm not seeing things as other people, as my age mates. I'm not seeing things as they are. It made me to start read about myself. Then at the moment, we had guiding and counseling sessions where we could be sensitized on things like stress and mental health. So it was at that point that I fit into the characteristics of stress and mental health issues, and at that point is where my official journey began. I had help from my teacher who acted as my counselor for that period when I was in primary school. Then moving into high school, it became hard because my environment continued being hostile in school and both at home, so it was quite hard for me. It reached a point where I gave into regressive methods, and it wasn't easy. I drenched into my own emotions, and it was so bad because I started self-harm at that juncture. Yeah, so I really didn't burn a lot, but I cut. I really, yeah. It was, for me at that moment, in the moment when I was cutting, because I couldn't understand, I couldn't comprehend what was happening to me, because you feel so overwhelmed with emotions, you feel so overwhelmed with a lot of things, but you don't know what it is. So in order to get something to understand, you induce some sort of pain that will be able to trick your head into believing that is the cause of your pain, and it will bring some satisfaction if it is done, because when you make that cut, it's painful, you'll cry. Then afterwards, your brain will be programmed in a way that it will feel as though the pain is gone, it is no longer there, but in real sense, the pain is still there. So it was not until I was informed too that I was referred to a professional, psychiatrist, let me say psychologist. Yeah, so I had a 6-month session, and I was able to retract from the self-harm methods, and afterwards I started to look for ways to engage myself in that. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I had to engage in other activities. You'll find that in as much as it was a good thing, it became toxic in that I wasn't really handling my problems. I wasn't really solving my problems, but I was putting them aside and engaging myself with a lot of workload. And so you'll find that my problems, I have set them aside. I am engaging myself, and so I'm overworking myself.
And before I cut you, you talked about in puberty. And at this all time, I'm listening to your story. I can't really tell where maybe your parents or guardian were, and if they knew that this was happening at this point. If now you're saying you started at puberty, was it in primary school or it started while you were in high school now, because you talked about Form 2?
Yeah, it certainly when I was in primary school. The problem is that growing up, I wasn't really raised by my parents fully, by relatives. And you know, in an African homestead, the moment you're raised by a relative, you grow up with the mindset of which this is not your home, and you can't just get things like comfort and attention at your luxury.
Oh, yeah.
So I grew up as a kid who kept things to myself. I didn't really have people or family to really share. So the fact that I packed a lot of baggage in me became regressive when I hit puberty, because at that time there's an outburst of emotion and you can't really handle it and manage it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
really understand. Okay, and then now you talked about self at Form 2. That was around Form 2. Do you feel to what extent did you get to self because for some people it can get to an extreme point, they want even to commit suicide. So at your case, what was the ultimatum of it?
Yeah, so in Form 2 I had 3 failed suicidal attempts. Yeah, and it was by pills. Yeah, I feel as though I wasn't really oriented on which were the strongest pills at the time, and I am grateful for that, because I was using normal pills, paracetamol, whose effects aren't that much severe. So yeah, I had 3 failed attempts. Yeah, the cuts aren't extreme to the point of where they'd be called suicidal attempts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about seeing a psychologist in Form 2 for 6 months. How was it a success? Was it a failure at your point? What was the outcome of it?
It was let me say it was a partial success, because being a mental person, at times we choose what to tell our psychologists, and in as much as it's not healthy, it's another regressive way. But I feel as though to the point of which I shared, because there's that limit where you are still yet unable to unlock and share it out to a psychologist, but let me say to the point of which I shared, it was quite helpful, because it built my foundation with mental health awareness, and it helped me to learn how to come about mental health, especially whenever I had panic attacks, because I experienced extreme panic attacks up to now actually. So from that I learned how to manage myself, because you'll get that I used to get panic attacks when I'm alone. There's no one there to help me, so I had to learn how to help myself in that moment of vulnerability.
Okay.
Yes.
So stay there, we are going to take a break, and after the break we are going to continue the story. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back, and we are continuing with the story. So we'll let Noel continue with the story. So after you talked about now in Form 2, so we are still back in Form 2. So after Form 2, what happened now?
After Form 2, I had a swap of schools. I changed schools to change my environment, because they still didn't understand what my problem was. So they just thought probably it is the school that is the problem. So my parents opted to take me to another school. So I went to this new school. It's a new environment, it's new friends, new teachers, and I feel as though it was a gift for me, because in this new school I picked up from scratch, and here with the knowledge of everything that I'm facing, with the knowledge of my situation and my condition. So even building friendships, because one thing about us is that someone else told me we are emotionally weak and emotionally immature. So we tend to get too attached. We have an attachment disorder. Say we get too attached to people. So I learned how to build like specific friendships, not just any random friendship, but friendships that I knew would help me and will understand my cause and my problems.
Intentional friendships.
Exactly. I had teachers who were supportive. I am grateful specifically for my director of studies. He was very supportive. He was that fatherly figure in school that we all need. Though it reached a time where, given that it was a girls' school, the relation was questionable, but I feel as though I learned a lot. He really helped me to journey, especially because I was a pre-candidate, and being a candidate, it was kind of a hard transition for me, and he really helped me settle in school and put my emotions and my mental health and my brain in order so that I will be able to sit in and be able to just blend in school without having a lot of problems. Whenever I felt as though I was facing a lot of hostility from the other students and other teachers, I knew like I just get to him and he was always there to support me. So it was quite a relief, I'd say. Yeah, but it still had its perks in high school, especially with the students, because they'd start talking. You're the teacher's favorite. You're getting advances from the teacher, and so you understand how the stories go.
Yeah, I know.
So it was still draining to me because I'm here. I'm just innocent. I'm like, I wish you guys understood my position, because it's not what you think. There's nothing going on between me and this teacher. He's just helping me as a teacher, because I understand teachers are taught things about psychology and to help students. Yeah. So it wasn't easy, but I managed. I didn't experience any self-harm event, but I had several panic attacks, but I managed through the remaining part of my high school.
Okay, now and that's now after high school. Now you're in campus. You're in second year now. What about the 2 years you've been in campus now? How has been life? How have you journeyed on? And so far, how do you feel?
I'll say when I joined campus, I engaged myself in very strong activities. I joined the Catholic community, the students' Catholic community, where I'm a very active member, and I am quite no-name when it comes to campus politics. So I engaged in things that I knew would really take most of my time. But you see, it's never the perfect option. So there are points where I really burned out, because I had school, I had church, I had school politics, and at the same time I had gotten a part-time job in town. So I had really engrossed myself in so many activities that I did burn out. Mid first year, around last year there, I actually cut off. It made me cut off my links. For like 3 months, I didn't show up in church. I didn't show up in school physically, and I actually lost weight. I just vanished. Being a person where you won't move for like 500 meters without seeing me, I vanished from the sight of humans. But again, it was a regressive method. So coming back, I had to come back slowly. I had to cut off attachments that I thought weren't healthy, and I had to distance myself from a lot of activities. I just told myself it is the time where I have to face my problems head on. I had to deal with my issues. So, and journeying alone, it's an impossible mission. So I had to get a small inner circle with whom I'd share my problems, with whom I'd share my daily events. Aside from that, I started journaling, especially on the most hectic days, or when I felt as though people really humiliated me, when people really acted in a way that I perceived offensive. I'd journal about it, then I'd take time to go and talk to people. But now you see, we face people with different characters, so not everyone takes correction positively. So it has also been a setback because I try to explain to you that you have wronged me in this certain type of way, and you don't see it. You take offense in me trying to send correction to you. I cut myself off. So I made it a personal initiative to just focus on me. Whenever it got out of hand, I have my personal uh, counselor with whom I consult with every now and then whenever I feel as though issues are overwhelming. And so far, so good, you must say, even though not everything is perfect, but there has been a positive growth, there's been a positive change, and I'm hoping for the best as time goes by.
Wow.
Yeah.
You talked about your regressive methods of coping up. How effective were they to you? And what are some of them those methods that make you now to regress, and also to so that you can fight off these emotions and everything?
At times, especially when when my anxiety kicks in and I'm having panic attacks, I withdraw from the social eye. I withdraw from everyone. Like, I literally vanish, because I have made myself to believe that I wouldn't want to let everyone see me at my most vulnerable point, because I've managed to build this face of me where people see me as a very strong person, because that is how I wanted to be perceived, even though that is not how I am. So it is like a guiding force. It's a driving force to push me to always work to be strong. But you see, we get tired. You can't always be strong.
You can't be
So at
strong.
times when I feel as though I'm breaking, I withdraw. Like, it will take a moment, like, for someone to see me again after 2 weeks and be like, where were you? Where did you go? Get. So yeah, I tend to withdraw a lot whenever I feel as though things have become hectic and overwhelming. And in my withdrawal, it's a moment where I get to contemplate within myself. I get to discern within myself, and get to, through discernment, I get to figure out and understand myself better. I get to understand the source of my problem, and try to figure out a way to work it out. And it has really worked for me. Yes. And yeah, given that the terms I'm using, those are spiritual practices that we practice in church. So they're really helpful. I must say the church has helped me a lot, because it is through the church that I have learned to practice these activities on myself. Yes.
Yeah, actually, discernment is almost as meditation, almost the same.
Exactly.
And it gives someone some ample time to think and also to recollect themselves. And so, what will be your parting shot to someone who is maybe suicidal? Maybe they don't know what's wrong because they can't even control their emotions at all. They can't figure out whether it's day, it's evening. They're just there. Maybe they're sleeping. Others are maybe they are the most outgoing people because they want to hide whatever they're going through. And others are trying to figure out what will be your parting shot to this story.
Yeah, so to begin with, I'll not say it is not your fault, and it is no one's fault that you have a mental health issue, have a mental health disorder. And at first, that is the first recognition that we have to make. It is not our fault, because we tend to blame ourselves. And you see, in putting the blame on ourselves and other people, there is that rejection, that, like, we haven't found acceptance. But you see, now we need to find acceptance first in the fact that, yes, I accept I have this specific type of disorder. You make closure with it, you make peace with the fact that, yes, I have it, it is with me. And from that point, you can be able to now freely share it out with someone, talk it out with someone, because if you're not even comfortable, if you're not accepting that you have a mental health issue, you can't be confident enough to talk about it. So it all starts with acceptance. Accept your situation, and then find someone with whom you can share with. And if at all you cannot, you can journal about it. Then use your piece that you have journaled during your discernment, during your meditation, You can assess yourself, you assess your situation, especially when you feel like you're heightened, you're angered, you're pissed, you are having a panic attack. Journal it. If you're not supposed to journal it, record yourself in that moment, every emotion. Then when you calm down, revisit that moment, review that moment, get the course, get to learn the course, get to know how to handle it. And with time, you'll get that if at all you're unable to figure out a way forward, you seek professional help. Psychologists ain't here to, and counselors ain't here to judge us. They're not here to listen to our stories, then go and talk it out with their families. They're here to help us. And if you take that positively, if you feel as though, again, you're not comfortable talking out with people, we have technology nowadays. There are so many sites out there, there are so many books out there that can help you build yourself out of the mental trap that you've caged yourself in by yourself without any other person's help, and you can be able to grow out of it by yourself progressively, and it helps. Yes.
Thank you. As you have heard, the first thing is acceptance, and for me in studio is saying thank you for listening to us, and thank you for tuning in. See you next time, next episode. Bye.
Bye.